And we are back with Dr. Whitney Oakley from Guilford County Schools and Reverend Frank Thomas. We're talking about the Guilford County School bond referendum and the sales tax increase. Now, all of this is happening on Election Day, which is in May. We want you to know what is going to be on the ballot. All right, so Reverend Thomas, how about this? This question is, what happens if the bond passes, but the sales tax increase does not, which is exactly what we saw in 2020?
Right. Well, if the bond passes and the sales tax doesn't, remember that the sales tax will not be to pay completely for the bond. It's just to help pay for the bond. So if the sales tax does not pass, it's more likely that property taxes will have to be raised in order to pay for the bonds.
And so that's kind of like how that kind of goes. So this next question is, how did the buildings go so long without repairs? Dr. Oakley?
Yeah, I think we have to look at the deferred maintenance, and we've been punting and punting and punting, and the schools continue to get older and further fall into disrepair. We make a certain ask every year for capital funding, and we just haven't gotten what we needed. Often what we are able to receive will fix just one part of one heating and air conditioning unit. And when we think about the number of buildings we have and the fact that the average age is 55 years old, the buildings just continue to deteriorate over time because of this deferred investment.
And we are talking about that deferment. So Reverend Thomas, maybe you can expound on that as well, because this next question kind of piggybacks on that. What happened to the maintenance funding over the years that resulted in poor condition of our schools? And how do we keep this from happening over and over again?
Well, like Dr. Oakley said, I believe that every year the school board or the school district has to request funds from the county. And let's say, for instance, they request $10 million in capital funding and they only get $6 million, then they have to put something in deferred maintenance. In that study that we were talking about in 2019, that study also showed that there's $800 million in deferred maintenance throughout our district. So that $300 million that we passed in 2020, even if we were just going to address the deferred maintenance, we still wouldn't be halfway through that.
All right, this next text question, Dr. Oakley says, how can we find out what schools and how much money a school will receive with the bond?
Sure. So our Guilford County Schools Facebook page holds all the information, as well as our website, gcsnc.com. The 2020 bond had 8 construction projects in it. Those projects are well underway in the design phase. It's really important for people to remember that it takes about 2.5 years, or around 31 months, to construct a school. So many of those projects are beginning this summer. All of them are on or ahead of schedule, which we're really excited about. Schoolbondfacts.com is also a website that shows where we are with the bond 2020 and where those projects are.
Okay. We've got about like 2 minutes left or so. Reverend Thomas, I was wondering if you would give folks an idea of how you would want them to think about these bonds, especially if they're thinking to themselves, I just did a bond, right, in 2020, and now I'm seeing this again.
Well, the 2020 bond was for $300 million. That was put on by the county commissioners at the time. But the study that was done in 2019 had a $2 billion price tag. So the $2 billion was the price tag, and $300 million is only 15% of the $2 billion. So this is not an additional bond referendum. This is a bond referendum to make us whole for the whole $2 billion. And remember, when you go to the polls, this referendum will be at the bottom of the ballot. You have to make sure you go all the way to the bottom of the ballot to make sure you cast your vote for the bonds. Vote yes for the school bonds, vote yes for the sales tax.
And
I'll just add to that
yes.
real quick, if I can, that the big difference is that the 2020 bond touches 8 of our schools.
Right.
The 2022 bond that voters will see coming up touches every single school in terms of safety and technology upgrades that we know there's been a lot of discussion about.
8 schools versus every single school.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. We have 126.
All right, and we're going to continue to be talking about this so that you can be informed and to know where you stand on the bonds that, again, coming up for a vote in May. All right, what we want to do right now is we want to let you know that you can go online anytime to get resources, to be able to get to the link for Guilford County Schools so that you can read up on the bonds and see what is going to be in front of you in the ballot in May.